welcome back to episode 27 of the MAINcast, presented by the Maine and the city of Santa Clarita. My name is Calliope, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the festival. Stephen, who is the other co-host, he wasn't able to be here today, but he will be back next week. So the MAINcast is part of the International Stage on Screen Festival, which is an 8-week online festival that presents plays from all around the world. This is week 4, and today we have cast and crew members from the show Black Women Dating White Men, which is from Great Britain. And we will be presenting their show twice on Friday to accommodate both time zones. So we will have one at 7 p.m. GMT, which is 11 a.m. PST, and that will have a live talkback at the end. And we will also have another show at 7 p.m. PST. So double check our Facebook page for more information. I am so excited to start this week's interview. Can I please have our lovely guests arrive? Hello. Thank you all for being here. Can I please have you introduce yourself and say the role that you're playing in the show?
Hello, my name is Somebody Jones and I'm the playwright.
Hi, I'm Khadifa Wong and I'm the director.
Hi, I'm Merryl Ansah and I play Aaliyah.
Hi, I'm Clara, Emanuel, and I play Cassie.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for being here. Khadifa, can you please tell us a little bit about your show?
Yes, it's wonderfully written by Somebody Jones, and it's a great story of sisterhood and fellowship through the experiences of a group of women who really the main thing they have in common is that they're all in interracial relationships with white men. And it just explores the highs and the lows of being in that situation. And what I like most about it is it's a film that focuses mainly on the positives, and it's a show about love, which I think is beautiful.
That is so wonderful. Somebody, can you please talk about your writing process for this show? Did you set up the support group beforehand, or did you, were you inspired to write the show based off of hearing their stories?
So the writing process for the show is so different because you think about it, when you write a play, you come up with a story and you write the words. Well, for this play, I had the story and then I had the words and then I had to put them together. So it was almost like writing backwards in a way, but not actually writing, because I didn't do any writing. I just did transcribing. So every single word in the piece is a word spoken by a real person. So it was definitely an interesting but very fun process.
Does anybody else want to speak on, doing verbatim theater and how it feels to put somebody else's words, into yourself, and not that they were crafted by a playwright, but, it's from a real live human being?
Yeah, I thought it was such an amazing process. It was great. When we were working and when we were rehearsing it, it's like, even though there were somebody else's words, through the direction and the writing and just the space of all the women together, it was like we were just having regular conversations with each other. We were able to transform it, and so that it really felt like we were in a support group for Black women dealing with all the ups and downs of dating white men. And so it was really quite organic how it came together, even though they were other people's words. We really were able to take them and make them our own, which was really an exciting process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think sometimes verbatim theatre can seem a bit scary because it almost feels like you're restricted in what you're saying because you're literally embodying someone else's words. But I think the way that the words were crafted together by somebody, it just rolls off the tongue. It just came off so easily. It felt natural. Like it felt like we're having these normal conversations. Like I literally felt like I was the character speaking these words. It came naturally.
Mm-hmm. So what do you hope audiences will take away from this show?
I mean, I would say love, for sure. Definitely love. And I hope that somebody learns something new. I mean, I'll say, I think the great thing about it is, from just some minor feedback that I've received, that everyone that I've talked to, whether they're Black or they're white or they're in a heterosexual or queer relationship, everyone has seemed to have taken something away, and it's been different, which I really enjoy. I love the fact that, two people can find something completely different in the show. So yeah, I love things like that.
I kind of hope people take away the positives, because more often than not what we see about interracial relationships presented in art is that it's a struggle somehow. And there's always odds against it. And yes, we're not saying that there's not, but we're also saying there's a reason why people get together and fall in love, and it's nothing, not always to do with your race, it's to do with interests and common goals. And you know, the character of Elia talks about the reason why she falls for her husband is because they have the same power goals. And so maybe they arrive at those power goals differently, but those are the goals that attracted them to each other. And I think it's important to highlight those things more, because that's what makes a relationship work. And that's why I hope people take away that from sort of the show, that it's about relationships at its heart.
And knowing that the words were from real women, you know, I have been married to my husband, me, Clara, in real life. I've been married to my husband who's white. We've been married for like nearly 9 years. And it's like those words could have been ripped from my brain in so many ways. And then in a lot of ways, there were things that were completely different from what I experienced. So it was such like, it was so great, such a confirmation of like my life in so many ways. To see other women speak this and to be able to give voice to that was really, really powerful for me. But I think truly at the end of the day, for me personally, being in this part of this project, like, and what I want people to take away from it was just that it was just such a celebration of all different type of women. Like, yes, it was about, you know, Black women dating white men, but we just had such a great time. And I think you can feel that camaraderie, that joy of spirit with just us Black women of all different shades, all different hair types, all different, you know, backgrounds coming together and speaking and, you know, commiserating and, you know, laughing and all of that, and just really hearing the true struggles of what it's like to be a Black woman. So I think that, and you don't really get to see that so often on screen or on stage these days. So it was absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, echoing Clara, I hope that people find comfort in the show, because I think there is something for everyone in there. Like, all these women in the play are at different stages of their relationship. And I think it's really important that that's also represented, because, you know, they can learn from each other. And I think within that, people watching it can in turn learn from these women and, you know, laugh at the funny moments. You know, there's humor in it, and also solidarity in the moments that, you know, there'll be things that they recognize from their relationships, whether or not they are Black women, white men. You know, what it relates to everyone. It's, you know, you can see these situations in any other kind of relationship. So yeah, I think people will feel comforted by it in some way.
Clara, that's so cool that you relate to the story in such a unique way. Does anybody else have any comparisons or similarities to any of the characters in the play?
Well, this is always a funny bit, because when we first workshopped it, so we all met via Facebook online. And so at the time, all of us were dating white men. So it was such a funny comparison. It was like, what's that saying? When art imitates life, but life was imitating art. So I think in that way, it was super cool, because we could all bring something different to the piece, but also bring something similar. I feel like it's not something that ever happens in a play where you're playing a character that is yourself, but not just you. Every single person is essentially playing a character that is their self. Whether or not you agree with everything that your character says personally, there's still bits that you definitely agree with. So, I mean, that's something that I'll definitely never forget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, there's a little story at the very start of this play. I won't spoil it, but it's something to do with Book of Mormon. And I remember opening the script and being like, wow, this literally is my life.
I use it now as like a relationship guide, because I'm like, well, if any of these characters would stand for this behavior in this film, then I won't stand for it. Right. And I kind of use it as a guide, and it's like, well, then this is unacceptable. And I use it as that, as my little manual.
Oh, Clara, did you want to add anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, so yeah, when having my husband be a foil to that it's really fun, because he's like my biggest supporter and he loves it. But, you know, he's so clueless about some of this stuff. But even, you know, there's like bits about hair, bits about, you know, even like the Book of Mormon or those type of things. He's like, I got it now. Like, yeah, I was clueless before, but like he's in now, you're 10 years deep, he knows it. So he's on the good side with all of it. So yeah.
That's wonderful. So one of your fun facts this week is how much you love fringe theater in Great Britain. So would you consider this to be a fringe show? And if so, like how does that affect your creative process and your rehearsals and your performances?
I mean, personally, when we first workshopped it, it was definitely a fringe piece. And I mean, I've gone and seen so many amazing things, some not so great things in fringe theater. I think that's the great thing about living in London, and me as an American personally living in London. It's such an exciting thing. I think we all miss it now during these Corona times. And it's so exciting, when somebody and Khadifa said, okay, we're going to run it again, but we're going to do it in this Zoom format. It was just, we were able to take the spirit of what the fringe piece was and turn it into something that's really so different and that's transformed and that's been able to kind of evolve, which is really, really exciting. And then we were able to get it out to so many more people as well, all over the world, which is amazing. But yeah, there's something really special about that, the fringe theater element. And I mean, living in London is such a joy, and it's a beautiful place to be. So we're all hoping that theaters can reopen soon. But until then, Zoom theater, I guess it is.
I think for me as a director, it just meant that everything had to be done a lot quicker. That there wasn't the time, which in a way is nice because it allows the actors to really explore and come with what they want, and you're really just there to kind of guide as opposed to putting a real kind of forceful message on it. It becomes more collaborative when there's not a lot of time and everyone has to move at a kind of quite a speed. And I really enjoyed that process, and just being able to kind of be part of a company and be like the seventh member, of the company. It'd just be like, okay, let's just do this as a group. And there was no kind of room for anything else. And that was really, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, when I think of fringe theater, I think of intimacy. And just speaking off of what Clara was saying too, that like missing theater, we're missing that community, we're missing that intimacy. And so doing this piece, although we didn't have the benefit of being able to hear an audience laugh or hear an audience react or et cetera, we got to be together and we got to talk about things that were happening in real time, and we got to have that fellowship. So I almost feel like although we missed the intimacy of having, direct audience reactions, we got to have the intimacy of being a theater community and having that camaraderie. So I almost feel like it was fringe theater, but flipped in a way.
Yeah, for me, fringe theater, kind of like Khadifa was saying, I always associate it with, well, also like somebody was saying, intimacy. And then also there's the time pressure and also not having as big a budget normally. So that kind of forces you to think outside of the box. And I think that's normally where people can get the most creative. And you just have so much freedom because you literally don't have as many resources as you might like to. So you try and think, okay, how can we achieve this with what we have? And I think that was done really, really well here. Khadifa did a great job putting it together, and the way the scenes kind of move together seamlessly and things like that. So I hope that shows.
Mm-hmm. It's almost easier to put up a fringe show online because of the fast process, because of the, you don't need all the materials, you just need some wonderful actresses and a great playwright and a great director, and and there you go, you can create something so beautiful that can be shared, to so many people. So I think that's awesome. So between the four of you, you all have such a wide range of professional experiences: dance, musical theater, voice acting for video games, playwriting, all these things. So and you work in either Great Britain or in the US. Can you talk about how your careers in theater like help the other facets of your work? Like, have you noticed any similarities and differences between working either in Great Britain or in the US?
Well, that's a great question. I'll go. I have recently just come off of a really exciting video game project that's dropping, I think, sometime later this year. For Xbox. And I think, my theater experience has been, absolutely essential for the work that I do when it comes to video game. This was a really, really fun project because, you know, we weren't like in motion capture suits or anything like that. They were taking us, and it's our faces and our bodies and our language and everything that we're doing, playing these characters, which was really, really exciting. But because, you know, everything is disjointed in terms of how you shoot it, it's like they shoot your body, then they shoot your voice, and they shoot, you know, the scenes around you. We're literally just kind of like on a Marvel set or something like that. You know, it's complete blue screen and then just capturing. So there's all the emotion has to live inside you. And I think working in theater really prepares you for that. It really prepares you for the stamina that's needed for that as well. But yeah, like it's been an exciting journey. And yeah, working in theater, I think, is pretty much the ultimate preparation for anything that you can do. I mean, I know Merryl like has worked in musical theater. I think that's like 10 times harder. It's so difficult. So, but yeah, it's definitely a great preparation.
Yeah, like Clara was saying, so I trained in musical theatre, so of course you get to do singing, dancing, acting. I'd say probably the singing, acting are more of my strong points than the dancing, but I get back. But I do think, you know, those skills are so transferable across the board, especially when it comes to doing things with voice. So like doing voiceover, or, you know, recording sessions for, you know, vocals in whatever album or something. So it's been useful to have that training and always go back to it. And like Clara was saying, things like stamina, doing shows that are, you know, 8 shows a week, that can be heavy on the body. And I think you have to be quite disciplined. And yeah, I think my training definitely prepared me for that, for sure.
I think I noticed more about sort of working in the US versus working in the UK is how open the US was. When I sort of first started working in the US, it was about 10, 11 years ago. And over there, I was able to, as an actress, I was able to go up for the role of just dentist or woman. Whereas over in the UK, they still call you black dentist or black woman on street. And so you are immediately typecast. So felt like I had a lot of more freedom. And I think that's what helped me kind of believe that I could actually move into directing, was seeing that they were just a lot more open and a lot more opportunity to just explore and find yourself. And in the UK, you're very bracketed. So I found that being a dresser, working in the West End, I wasn't always taken seriously as a director until I'd gone to America, dance and stuff, and come back. Whereas they would just be like, but you're a dresser, so you can't be a director. And so it was, you know, you had to kind of go away, reinvent yourself and come back. And that's the difference I knew. But in America, they didn't care where you came from. It's what you were doing that was the most important thing.
What's so interesting about that is I feel like I've had a similar but also opposite experience to Khadifa, because I got my master's degree in playwriting out here in London because I knew that I would have been taken more seriously going back home and saying that I studied in London. Because I feel like in the US, when you say that you've come from an acting school in London, they're like, oh, London. Oh, they take their acting so seriously. Obviously, we have so many actors from the UK in the US. So that's a familiarity right there. But then also in terms of theater, I feel like there are so many opportunities as a writer. I can't speak to as an actor, but for sure. I mean, especially in fringe theater, you know, there's these little pub theaters that you can just put up a show for a night. And that is almost non-existent in the US, or at least in LA. I mean, a theater that's attached to a bar, never heard of it. And I think the biggest difference for sure is when I tell my friends back home who are writers or actors or in theater, I always tell them, you know, theater can be government funded. You can apply for a government grant, the Arts Council England grant, and receive funding for your show, anywhere from as small amount as you want to even 50 grand. And people are like, what? Government funded theater? And I'm like, I know, that's why you gotta come here and do some theater and then go back. So that's definitely interesting.
Definitely. So now is a chance to promote your work. Do any of you have any exciting projects coming up that you're either working together on or working separately?
Yeah,
Well, it's a tough time. It's a tough time, like in COVID world. It's like, I think I'll speak for myself, but I know so many actors out there who are just, still doing work, still putting themselves out there, still training, still doing short films, being TikTok stars and all of that stuff. And working. I know for me, I'm really lucky that I have a bunch of voiceover projects. And as I said, my video game that I've been working really hard on for the past, I think, 2.5, 3 years, will be releasing on Xbox later this year. So it's called As Dusk Falls. So please check it out when you get a chance.
Yeah, I've got a directing-wise a documentary that will be at the Pan-African Film Festival in a couple of weeks, which is great. It's a jazz dance documentary. And I know somebody and I have got a couple of things brewing that are kind of a continuation of this work, which I'm really excited about, which is going to be really cool. So when we get those done, we'll let everyone know. But I'm really excited for that. So
I feel like I'm laughing even more because Khadifa is slyly saying, somebody finish transcribing, because this actually is the first part of a trilogy. So of course, this show is done. The second part of the show is done. And the third part has been in the works for longer than I want to admit. So that's definitely something that I'm working on and excited to hopefully finish very soon.
And yeah, hopefully I should have a tour to be going back to once theatres are allowed to be open. I can't actually officially say what it is yet because it hasn't been announced, but I'm hoping it won't get cancelled because yeah, there's a lot of that going on. So I mean, we'll see what happens, but yeah, hopefully I'll have something to go back to.
That's good. Yeah, it's hard to, of course, find work during this time, but I'm so glad that you're all busy on different projects, keeping the art alive during all this. That's awesome. So let's wrap up the episode in a way that you get to share the most exciting or most memorable part of working on this play.
I think for me it was that we started on the day, because I'd had COVID and so I was sick, and the marches were happening for George Floyd in London, and I really wanted to go. And obviously being ill, I couldn't, but we were rehearsing that day. And so I actually got to just sit amongst, this really incredibly supportive group of women and feel like, okay, maybe I'm not there at the protest, but I am doing something productive for my community. And I'm also being surrounded by people. And it was the first time I think I've been able to just speak and unload everything that I was feeling. And so I think that's the thing I'll take away most from this process, was that the timing of it couldn't have been any better, because you are at home alone, isolated, and so it suddenly felt like I had a community just at my fingertips. And I don't know the extent of which that healed me is unquantifiable, but it was really needed, and I was just very grateful to receive that from all of these wonderful women.
I definitely echo those sentiments.
Yeah,
I think it was, just in terms of timing, it was a really special, precious time where we were all together when kind of the Black Lives Matter movement, which still lives, for us every single day, but we're definitely made a lot of, national and international noise. I think on a personal note for me, working on this project was great. Specifically, this piece and this iteration of it was so great. I know it sounds silly, but I was able to be in a production where I was able to change my hair 4 times during your shoot. And so I had a wig on, I had my natural hair, I had this, and I just felt so beautiful and just so unapologetically Black. And I don't think I've ever felt that way, to be able to celebrate that in a way on a shoot, on a set, on stage before. And I will forever be grateful for that. So thank you guys.
Yeah, echoing both what Khadifa and Clara are saying. So, I mean, I said, sorry, I was new to this iteration of the project. So for me, having that first session where we were just able to discuss everything that was going on with the protests and, how it was affecting us in our lives, it was so, freeing is the word. And it also felt like such a safe space as well, because, these are our lived experiences. So yeah, I thought that was definitely a really special moment. And also, kind of like Clara was saying, I I just loved how in this piece, you know, we had different scenes going on. So being able to change from, you know, one day coming in from a jog and sipping on a green juice, and then the next like drinking wine. It's just like, when does that really get to happen? So yeah, that was really fun.
Definitely have to echo everything that everyone said. And I'm also going to steal something that Khadifa said, because I think it was early on that Khadifa was saying the thing that's so special about this project, which I think everyone will agree with and everyone felt, is that when have we ever had a piece where it was all women and all Black women? I mean, everybody who had hands in this was a Black woman. And so it's a shame that this was our first time experiencing it. And I hope that this is definitely not our last, because something that Khadifa has said often is that when we entered into this piece, there was sort of like a common language. There were things that we didn't have to say because we already knew them. And it was almost like, and I'm stealing from Khadifa so much, but she said that for her, it was like there was so much work she didn't have to do. And I felt the same way as well. As a writer, there were things that I didn't have to explain. I mean, I don't think I ever really had to explain anything. I think maybe I clarified 1 or 2 lines, but otherwise everyone immediately got it. And it made the work go by so quickly. I mean, I will forever be amazed that I think we had 2 rehearsals for Zoom. I think it was like 2 5 or 6 hour rehearsals. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm certain it was just 2 days and that was it. And I think that's a testament not only to how talented everyone was, but the fact that we did have a common language. So we could just speed through things. And so, yeah, like I said, I mean, I hope this is not the last time we all have this experience, because it's definitely been transformative in many ways.
Mm-hmm. I think that is a beautiful way to wrap up this week's episode. So thank you so much to somebody, Khadifa, Clara, and Merryl for joining me today. It was so lovely to meet with you all and talk with you all. And thank you to our audiences who watch the MAINcast every week. So please tune in to watch Black Women Dating White Men this Friday, February 12th at either 7 p.m. GMT or 7 p.m. PST, or both. The Zoom link will be on our Facebook page. It's the same every week, so you can go to any of the events and you can click on that link. And don't forget to check out the other events at the Main, including 10 by 10, food sessions, and New Heights. Again, thank you all so much for being here, and we will see you on Friday.